Let's see if Scott Matthewson is technologically adept. Oh, he is. Look at that. He turned on his camera. Hi, Scott.
Hey, how you doing, Patrick?
Doing great. Thank you so much for spending the time with us today, Scott. This is very interesting because I interviewed you what about a year ago, I think.
Oh, has it been that long?
Yeah, it's almost been a year, and of course, at that time you had just been, I think, with us maybe a year and a half, something like that. When did you go through the training?
It was actually March of 2000, or I'm sorry, May of 2013.
Yeah, so it was about a year after that I interviewed you, and then here it is a year later. Wow. And you're still in this business. I'm
Still
amazed.
doing it, yeah.
And it's still continuing to grow, I take it.
It is, absolutely. And I started part-time, so I guess I probably crawled before I walked, but I had a full-time job while I got this off the ground. So that was
Well, that's probably
that
good news for some people on here because there are always people that come to our training who, they think, well, how can I build a business while I'm working a full-time job? But it can be done, can it?
it can be done, absolutely.
So those of you who are on here, just so you know, we're going to let Scott give a little bit about his background. Scott, what state are you in right now?
I am in the beautiful Pacific Northwest up in Seattle, Washington.
Wow. I envy you. It's probably nicer up there than it is down here in Texas right now. It's a little cold down here right now.
Yeah, it's been 65 and sunny all week, so I think global warming has taken hold.
I guess so. I guess Al Gore was right after all, wasn't he?
Yeah, he did invent the internet, and
Of course, you ask the people on the East Coast, and they'll swear that we're moving into an ice age.
exactly. Yes, I do not. Up here in Washington, we think that that's payback for New England winning the Super Bowl. So.
Oh, I knew that was coming. Well, hey, let me ask you, why don't you tell folks what you were doing at the time, generically at least, what kind of work you were doing?
Yeah, I've been in financial services most of my life. So I was actually pre-med in college, which is why I had a little bit of a draw to the medical side of things. But I got sidetracked into a business degree and went to work for a bank. And from that, I became a financial advisor for about 18 years. And then I wanted to really branch out. We had built a successful business. It was 300 million in assets, but it was a father-son team, and I wasn't the father or the son.
Oh,
So
you were the
I
outsider.
wanted to go and do something on my own, and so I wanted to really own my own business, be my own boss, and I started a small little insurance company and started getting that off the ground. And what happened is I quickly realized the difference between being self-employed and being a business owner. My wife got really sick, and she was laid up in bed for about 4 to 6 months, and I found out quickly if you're self-employed and you stop working, the money stops coming in. I thought that was weird, but
Yeah.
that's what happens. And if you're a business owner and you have to step away, generally that business can continue on its own. So once she got back on her feet, I had to go back into the workforce and get a job. And during that time, I told her, I go, look, it's not going to be for very long. I gotta find something else to do. And she agreed. She said, she gave me permission to start looking. And so while I was employed, I was had my eyes and feelers out for something that I wanted to do for the rest of my life. And that's when I came across American Business Systems, and I was looking in healthcare, and healthcare was something that was exciting to me. And as a financial advisor, we always followed the baby boomers,
Right.
and something that attracted me is that the society, is the baby boomers are getting older, and I thought that was something that would really drive the opportunity in the healthcare industry. It was just at that point finding what was going to be the right fit.
And this just happened to be it, huh?
It did. We looked at a lot of different things, from adult family care, to some different franchises, to contracted nursing businesses. Looked at a lot of different things, and I just happened to stumble across you guys, and it was the right fit. Once I started calling and connecting with Adam and talking to the people at ABS, it felt like home. It really did.
Well, let me touch on that baby boomer thing because a lot of people who look into this business don't realize that there is a 10,000 individuals every single day in the United States who are moving into that baby boomer retirement age. And that means, of course, that they're now eligible for Medicare, which means they'll
Hmm.
probably start going to the doctor more because things start, happening as you get older. I can testify to that. And and so it's just a huge market. Well,
It
healthcare
really
is like
is.
one
Yeah.
sixth of the whole economy.
We have a couple of fun names for it. We call it boomeritis or the silver tsunami. Whatever you want to call it,
There
but
you go. Silver
it's
tsunami.
happening. There's no stopping it. So there's such a confluence of events happening right now to create the opportunity with this business that it's really exciting, and it's almost like a little vortex or tornado of events that is creating mass confusion in the healthcare industry. And so people, business owners, and what we call brilliant doctors, they really need someone to kind of guide them through that muck and that mess, because all they want to do is practice medicine and be with their patients. They don't want to be necessarily business owners, and it's hard to hire and train staff to do that. So having a professional company come in and relieve some of that burden for them, you can feel the weight come off their shoulders. It's pretty exciting.
Yeah, and I guess because you started it part time, I think you had a salesperson at first helping you. Is that right?
Yes, that's correct. Kind of an admin slash appointment setter, a web searcher, I guess, of sorts, to just find me any networking opportunities that were either before 9 a.m. or after 5 p.m.
Yeah. Now you mentioned networking. That's interesting because a lot of people on here probably don't even know what that is if they've never been in business for themselves, especially. Can you kind of explain what that concept is? Because we put a lot of emphasis on our training on networking, don't we?
Absolutely, and it's a crucial part of going through training. And it's networking is changed a lot in the last 20 years. When I first started as a financial advisor, it was a much different animal than it is now. You can connect and network, without even leaving your home office if you want to. But you really at that point have to take, precaution and care over your person as the brand. You are the brand at that point if you're not going to go out and meet people face to face. So you have to make sure that what people are seeing is an accurate depiction of what you want them to see. So networking got really challenging. It can be a big waste of time if you don't do it strategically.
Right.
So, and then you feel like you're spinning your wheels. But for us, it was really, all right, what's the most important thing that we need to do? We need to get an introduction to a decision maker. And that's the bottom line. So, if that person can help me get that, meeting with a decision maker, then that's what I want to talk to that person about. Let's learn some more about them. And you have to be able to assess that in just a short amount of time, maybe 2 to 3 minutes of meeting someone at a function. You have to be able to assess if there's more time that's needed to be spent there.
Yeah. So was that how you got your first client?
It was actually gone around. By the time we went live with our company, which was probably about, we did it a little slower, so it was probably about 60 days after I came back from training. We had to get our license and website and name and everything up and running, and we did that. Took our time. But once we launched officially, we had our first client within 6 weeks. So it was pretty exciting, and we did that through just a couple of networking events, and we met him at a networking event. He was very intrigued. He had been having some problem with billing in his office. Rejection rates up over 30% for this doctor,
Yeah.
and that
We
was
heard that a lot.
music to our ears.
Yeah.
So we have him now down. He's now down under 3%, which is fantastic.
That is exactly what we hear from other licensees. Nationwide, our average is about 2%. So to get a doctor from 30 to 3%, people don't realize that that could mean thousands of extra dollars in that doctor's pocket, couldn't it?
Oh, it's amazing, Patrick. This the first quarter that we worked with him, it was about a year and a half ago, like January of 2014. His collected was about $17,000, which isn't a lot to run a practice. 12 months later, we've been able to add capacity to a point where his collected this January was 45,000.
Oh my gosh, almost three times as much.
Almost three times, yeah. And now he's ecstatic. He's just growing any way he can. He's like, "Oh, this is fun. Let's keep doing this. What else you got?" So it's fun.
Now, look, those of you who are listening to this webinar live today, listen to what Scott just said. Let that sink in because we get this question a lot, Scott, and I'm sure you ask it too when you were looking into getting into the business, is why would a doctor decide to outsource his billing to somebody when he could do it in his own office? Was this doctor doing his own billing?
Yes, he had it in-house. It was an in-house biller that he was paying. It was funny actually when we went back over a year of figuring out how much we charged him. He was actually paying that staff person about 15% more than what he paid us over 12 months.
Oh, is
So
that right?
yeah, so he did have a full-time staff person doing his billing. He was very behind on his accounts receivable, very behind, as with current billing. There was a high rejection rate there, and they didn't have a technology really to help them, connect the front office to the back office. So it was a mess. We walked into kind of a hornet's nest there at the start, but it was opportunity for us.
You may have salvaged his practice. I mean, 17,000 a month, that's nothing for a doctor to run a practice on. So by taking it another $28,000 more per month in revenues, this doctor is able to do a lot now that he wasn't able to do.
Absolutely. He's hired more staff. He's expanded his office to include more square footage there. He's actually brought in some really innovative um, things that are helping add revenue to his business that he couldn't do before. And knowing that his capacity and his back office are taken care of, he's not afraid to spend more money in marketing to bring more patients to the clinic now
Right.
that he knows that things will be taken care of.
Yeah, so it's kind of a win-win on both sides. He reduces his cost, uh, you said earlier, 15%, to bring
Mhm.
you in to do the billing. He brings in more money now, you do for him, $28,000 a month more. And that frees him up to go and find more patients, which is how he makes his money, seeing patients. So,
Absolutely.
yeah, that's the
It's a full
perfect
it's a full
example.
cycle.
Yeah. Hey, we got Laura here. Somebody's brave enough to actually start asking questions. Folks, this is your opportunity to ask somebody that's in this business, not me, not Eric, not somebody from my company, but somebody who's actually been where you're at. He's done the due diligence, he's gone through the training, he's experienced what it's like to be out there in the field, and he's experienced the support that we give him. So here's the first question, Scott, from Solara. She says, what kind of provider was this first doctor?
Great question. This was actually it was a combination of a pain manager and a chiropractor. And so it's a very unusual relationship. It's like cats and dogs. But they had something that they thought could work, but they were losing something in the back end. And so we were able to bridge that gap for them, and it became a very successful model that others are starting to duplicate here in the area. Chiropractors are very you kind of have some that are very small and cash only and just kind of have very limited schedules, and then you have much bigger multidisciplinary offices where there might be several different providers in one office. So it's a nice market, but it is there's a lot to it, and it's a lot of moving parts to it. But it was a pain manager slash chiropractor, and quite interestingly, we just followed the ABS system because we didn't know what we were doing. I didn't, and we sat down and did a practice analysis, and then we had our meeting and presented a contract and got our first startup check. Just hey, we need a initial check to get started, and we didn't know any better. We just threw out a number, and we threw out 8,500, and he countered with 82, and we said okay. So,
82,
so
huh? Yeah, and your startup cost to really get him up and running was in the low hundreds, I would assume.
Yeah, it's pretty minimal for that. I mean, most of that first startup check was, went to our pockets. So it was nice because it validated what we were doing, which is great, but it also helped put a couple dollars in our pocket as we got started. So
That's a good point, Scott. People ask us about return on their investment with us. We have a license fee of $25,000. So when they invest that, they're wondering how quickly can I get that back? Well, you just touched on something we don't ever emphasize enough, probably, and that is that we teach you how to get that upfront setup fee that will get you instant return on your investment. I mean, at that rate, you could have signed up three doctors and made back most of your investment in the business with us, at least.
yeah, absolutely. And it's part of every meeting that we do, and it's an expectation that the doctors do have that there is a setup fee in charge, and it's just part of the implementation process. It's going to be 3 to 6 weeks to get everything set up and running correctly before we actually get some billing run through the system where we're actually collecting. So it essentially helps that implementation process, and they understand that. So we've since kind of, I think, leveled out to a point now where we're about $1,500 to $2,500 per provider when we do our setup fee.
Yeah. Okay, and here's some more questions. Boy, they're coming in now. They're flowing in once that first one gets going.
Yeah, once you start talking about money.
Right. All right. So Jim says, how many doctors are you billing for now?
That's a great question. I've set up the business that we're not just a billing service, and this is something that you'll do, and you'll decide how you want to set up your business. But we offer a lot of different services to providers. So, but our full focus is how can we get in the office to talk to the doctors? Because we know if we can get in there and get a chance to get in front of a decision maker, in all likelihood, we will have their billing at some point. So last year, we probably worked with about 14 providers. About 5 of them we're actually doing billing for. So, but we did everything from some credentialing to we reviewed contracts. We did a collection project. We're working now with the new Hipaa program that you guys launched last summer, which is fantastic. It's a great foot in the door to talk about the Hipaa program, Compliancy Guard, and it's something that all the doctors need. So that's fantastic. Document storage, the iDocs program got us into a couple offices that we're now starting to get billing accounts from. So it's just a way to get into an office. And sometimes you don't. We had a mental health provider that was just looking to retire and wanted to just copy all his files and put it on electronic storage. And he's not really practicing anymore, but he made a couple of dollars with the iDoc program. Well, he's given us 3 referrals since then. So
Oh, that's a great story. And it's a perfect example as to why we introduced those other services besides billing, because there are other ways that you can help the doctor with their cash flow and with the management of their practice. So, uh, Scott, you may not be aware of this now, but when we are now issuing a certification at the end of our training class that is called a Certified Medical Revenue Manager, a CMRM, that you can put those letters after your name. So I don't think we've ever certified you. I think when you went through, we probably did something similar, though, didn't we?
I did get some sort of diploma, but I don't think it was a CRM. I like that. That's catchy. I could use that.
Yeah, I think you deserve to be officially, kind of like you give somebody a college degree when they really didn't go to college. You've already been through the business and have earned it yourself. So I'm going to send you
Absolutely.
one of those so you're
Thank you
certified
so
now.
much. I love it. Anything that adds credibility helps because
Yes.
I can relate with all the people out there listening to this. It is scary. It's different. It's a something new, and that's always kind of when you step out of your comfort zone is a little uncomfortable. But the best thing to do is to be true to yourself. And when you talk to people, well, how long have you been doing this? I'm like, not very long, but you know what? I got the support of ABS behind me, that's the largest, independent network of medical billers. So if I ever have a question that I know where to get the answer. So I feel pretty comfortable, walking out and talking to anybody. now I've been doing this for a couple of years. I feel pretty good. But when you're first getting started, you're going to get a little nervous because you don't have the answers to everything. But you're part of a network now, and part of a family, and there's always someone that has the answer for you. You just politely say, hey, let me get back to you on that. I can get that answer for you.
Yeah, people ask us sometimes, Scott, about our support and how many people we have and so forth. Well, as you know, we utilize not just the people internally to our office, but all of our technology partners that are behind the technology. We have over 100 people that can help licensees with various aspects. But if they need help on a one-on-one basis, of course, we've got people that can do that to just hold their hand if that's what they need, to get to where they need to be. Okay, here's a question from Debbie, and kind of one similar from Rich. Debbie says, "What were your total startup costs?" And Rich kind of expands that. He says, "Other than the franchising fee," he means our licensing fee. Do you
Hmm.
know your total investment? What kind of money did you have to put in the business? In other words, to really get this thing up and running?
Absolutely. That's a great question. Our my goal was always to make sure that this business was cash flow positive. So always got creative in on the money side. Obviously, there's the vacation down to Dallas, for the class.
Right, a whole week down
That,
here, yeah.
that's always nice, but that's it's definitely worth whatever you put into it.
And
But when
just
you
so
get
people
back
know,
and your
Scott,
business,
let me just
oh,
say for people who are wondering, because I don't think we talk about this much either. But guys, the hotel that we hold this in is a Marriott Suite hotel. It's a very nice hotel. We've got it down to like for the whole week, about $700 with tax. So
absolutely, that's about
and
what I
that,
paid.
yeah, and you'll also spend your flight. If you don't have miles that are available to fly down here, it's going to cost you $200-300 probably for that.
Yeah, it's worth it, and you get some nice weather for a week, so that's fantastic.
Well, it depends. If it's in August, it might not be so nice, but
But as far as startup expenses go, it really can be done very inexpensively. As far as the networking goes, there are so many meetings out there. There's the meetup.com, there's the BNI groups, there's lots of different networking groups that you can usually go and attend 2 or 3 meetings before you have to commit to paying anything for marketing. You can get very inexpensive business cards, on the website. ABS has a great program where you can get a really inexpensive website built for you. Um, they start you off with some flyers to work with, so you don't have really any printing costs. You can just take those out and go talk to people. I mean, your starter kit really helps you get out there and get going. But on the office end, once we got a client up and running, we had a few internal costs, with printing and having a fax and a printer and things like that. But it all paid for itself. So, you know, I'd say, less than a couple $1,000 really to go out there and do it. But it's for all things out there, other businesses, it's incredibly inexpensive. It's just sweat equity for the most part.
that's a good way to put it. Yeah. You can either put cash money into something or time, one or the other, sometimes both.
Absolutely. Yeah, money will definitely help it probably move along faster,
Yeah.
but it can be done without it, and it can also be done without having to do it full time. So it just takes a little longer.
Yeah, and as you know, Scott, having gone through the training, we cover probably 10 different ways that people can market this. So it depends on the time, whether you're full or part time. It depends on how much budget you've budgeted for different things. But if you don't have a dime, we can show you how to go out and market, and it hardly costs you anything but your time. So,
Absolutely.
okay, let's see. Michelle says, how were you able to differentiate yourself from other licensees? Now, I think by licensee, she means other medical billing companies.
Yeah, that's a great question. And first and foremost, you're going to run into probably two different types of offices. Those that do their billing in-house and those that outsource it. And the experience that we've had is that most other outsourced billing companies are generally nowhere near have the knowledge that you have when you come out of training. They're generally pretty small, work with much smaller practices. Um, I think it just comes down to confidence and being able to say, look, I've been through this incredible program. I got a great partner in ABS behind me. I'm part of a network of 1,500 licensees. It's like that. I think it was Verizon commercial that they used to have where that guy was like, "Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now?" And he turned around and he's got all those people behind him, helping him out. And
Right.
I think that's what always kept us going and motivated, is that knowing we weren't necessarily out there alone. So if I ever had a question, I could easily call or email someone at ABS, or I could call our technology partner or any one of our outsource partners and be able to get an answer pretty quickly.
Good answer. All right, let's see. Kishi says, would you recommend we start out with a specialty or a variety of different types of doctors? Also, how many providers should we start with as a novice biller, but with medical insurance background? I guess she has some sort of background in the medical industry or insurance industry.
Oh, that's a great question. Uh, Depending on the rate of growth of your business, I think it's important to be able to focus on what you can manage. And, by that I mean, don't we kind of came out of the gate trying to be everything to everybody. And that shotgun approach, I think, distracts you from what you're really trying to do. And I think it's really important to know who you are and where your comfort zone is, and then really focus on being the best at that one thing. So, if you feel comfortable with family practice, go talk to all the family practice providers. If you
Right.
feel comfortable with chiropractic, go talk to all them. Once you have some cash flow coming in and some experience, you can broaden your horizons a little bit, but find your comfort zone and then really just be the best at that until you're kind of up and running as a business, and then kind of can expand from there. So I hope that answers that question.
So you have a variety of different types of doctors.
We did. But now it's funny because now we're going back to where we're going to be more focused. But we just kind of picked fruit off of a bunch of different trees. We worked in sleep medicine, cardiologist, internal med, pain manager, chiropractic, naturopath. We had family practice and a pediatrician. So mental health as well. So we really have been all over the map there, and every specialty does have its own unique problems as well as coding issues and billing issues. So every time you get into a new specialty, it's a new learning experience. So it can kind of hold you back a little bit if you really focus on an area and just go be the best at that. Until that's exhausted, or you feel comfortable and willing to add pieces. I think that's probably a smart way to go, and that's where we're changing our focus now. We're going to go back to really focusing again on family med, and probably get away from the specialists a little bit for now.
Yeah. All right. Let's see. Jim says, what is the most common objection you overcome when getting a doctor on board?
Well, the first thing is probably some sort of provider that has tried to outsource before, and it wasn't a good experience. And that's a hurdle that you have to overcome. And they're like, oh, I've done that, and it's been horrible. Well, you know, I've gone out to a restaurant and had a bad meal, but that doesn't mean I'm never going to go out and eat at a restaurant again. So you got to kind of convince them to try it again, and that it really is valuable to them over time. And the biggest complaint from the outsourcing was control of what they were looking at, being able to see claims and follow claims and know where everything is in the cycle, but also the transparency. They needed to have that transparency. And we have the answers to both of those things. So if you can say, I bet the reason you brought it back in house was control and transparency of the situation. You needed to know where everything was going, and they're going, absolutely, that was it. Okay, well, we solved those issues. Would you like to take a look at it again? So
Yeah.
that's a big objection out there.
Yeah, that's a good point, Scott. And we solve that by putting everything in the cloud and giving the doctor access from any device he wants to use to be able to access the real time status of all of his claims and all of his money.
Absolutely. And it's not just where is the claim, but it's, his accounts receivable. how much is sitting in 60 days, how much is in 90 days, where the claims are at, how's the month producing. I mean, we have our providers now that they're calling us every 2 weeks. How's the month going? How's the month going? And they're coming to us trying to find out, how their month is going. It's like, well, how hard have you been working?
Right. Yeah. Let's see. Laura asked about how many providers you had. I think you mentioned earlier you had 14. Uh,
Yeah, we've worked with 14 to 15 in lots of different projects, but actual billing clients, we have about four or five. A couple small ones, but a couple that are between 30 to 50,000 a month in collected, and then we have a couple that are between like 8 to 12,000 in collected. So, but the reason that we have the smaller ones is because they are focused on growing. We probably wouldn't have taken a small account like that if their vision wasn't to grow beyond where they're at now. So
sure.
our ideal sweet spot, so to speak, is 40 to 80,000 in collected, 1 to 5 provider offices. So that's where we feel like we can be of most value.
Yeah, now when he uses the term provider, folks, he's referring to a medical doctor. In a practice, you might have one doctor, you might have three doctors. Those are referred to as medical providers. Yeah, it's just a generic term. Okay, Lynn says, "Hi Scott, are the doctors you work with concerned about ICD-10 implementation, and how are you dealing with that?"
That's a great question. We went out all guns a-blazing on ICD-10 last year, and we were like, we're going to be the coolest people talking about ICD-10, and we're going to know everything, and we're going to be like, you got to switch with us because we can switch you over before October, and then they extended it another year.
Yeah, yeah, the government pushes it out another year. So, folks, what he's talking about, there are codes, for medical doctors called ICD codes. ICD, it's the International Classification of Diseases that the World Health Organization came up with, and there's thousands of them. So everything that's possibly wrong with your body is got a number, and those are the codes.
Exactly.
Well, anyway, the government's coming out with a brand new set of them that Scott, I think there are something like 13 times as many
Mhm.
codes in the new ICD-10 as there are in the ICD-9. And that's
Yes,
scary for
one
a
of
lot
our
of doctors.
providers, yeah, one of our providers is going from about 400 codes that he uses to over 2,500. So it's what it does is it gives you the opportunity to get them on a state-of-the-art EHR system, electronic health record system, that can really help with that transition and process. But in all intents and purposes, the doctors aren't really that concerned with ICD-10 because they'll be like, we'll deal with it when they finally decide to make the change.
Yeah, that's usually what they do. And then they put it off until the very last minute. Look,
Yes.
I'm throwing up a slide here that's a picture I showed earlier, just so you guys can kind of get a feel for this. Look, you can barely see it here in this screenshot right here. I'm moving my mouse right over it, but there is an ICD-10 search. So even though the code that the doctor's now using under ICD-9 uh, might be the code that he's now using. When he pushes this button for ICD-10 search, he gets to see all of the suggested codes that could be used under ICD-10. So, folks, you don't have to know, and the doctor doesn't have to know anything about ICD-10 because we basically have put them all into our system.
Yeah, and they are concerned about it. They know about it, but doctors don't think very far ahead right now. They really don't. They're just concerned with what's going on day to day. It's truly, and that's where we can be so much help to them. Is they want one of two things. They either want more money or more time, and we have a solution for both. So we
Oh,
can go in and
goodness,
solve
Scott,
that
I never
problem for
heard
them.
that put that way. Yeah, we can. We can give them more time or money or both if that's what they want.
Yeah.
Uh, the fact is that if they are not billing with ICD-10 codes, though, come October 1st of this year, they just won't get paid by Medicare. They just won't pay them. So
Exactly.
it's
Yeah.
pretty important that they have a system that has it, available for them. Let's see. Here's Mike. He says, "Are there other outsource agents doing what you're doing in your area?"
Absolutely. They're everywhere. They really are. There's all sorts of shapes and sizes. There's really big companies. There's independents. There's smaller to medium sized. We ran into one company that they had about 60 accounts, probably a medium sized company, and they sold to a larger company for like $6 to $7 million. So, if you're looking at opportunity, you can build up a client base, and could be a possibility to sell your business down the road if you wanted to. But the opportunity is there to go out and really create the business you want. The great thing is that there's no leading, outsourced billing company out there. So there's no Coca-Cola, there's no Exxon Mobil out there.
Right.
It's wide open. It's just wide open for you to go and make your mark.
I think that's true, Scott, because doctors don't want to deal with some company that's, all over the nation, a big conglomerate. They want to deal with a local business owner like you.
They
So,
do. Again, it comes down to control and transparency. And if they have to talk to, I know one of our competitors on the EHR side has a billing version where it's, sign up for the EHR and you get a billing partner with it, and it's all through a 1-800 number, and they have, a bunch of billers in a room in, Mississippi or something, and you talk to a different person every time you call in, and they're supposedly doing your billing for you, but there's just no relationship, and it's really important to build that relationship, especially when it's about money.
yeah, especially when it's about money, you're right. That's one of the things I mentioned to Scott earlier, folks. We just engaged with a medical doctor who was in practice for 20 years as a orthopedic surgeon, and she's now engaged with American Business Systems and has become our medical marketing advisor. She is going to be teaching a whole series of webinars to our licensees on how to engage with doctors. And one of the big things she teaches is that doctors don't necessarily know how to deal with money. They don't like to talk about money, and they don't know how to manage their money. And yet they make a lot of money, some of them. Okay,
Absolutely.
let's see. Laura says, what kind of network meeting did you meet this provider at? You were talking about your first provider. What kind of meeting? Was it a a Chamber of Commerce or?
No, it actually was just a local networking group that had spun off from BNI. So it was a smaller group that BNI didn't want. They have a number. You got to have so many people to be an official BNI group. So this group started their own networking group, and I was able to get invited to that. And they were one of the people there. So it was just kind of nice. You got to meet him, struck up some rapport, and was able to come in and visit him at his office and talk to him a little bit more. And then within a couple of weeks, we had the deal signed.
Yeah, and folks, remember that's part of our training. I actually started a networking group here, Scott. I don't know if you knew that or not. Here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, this has been about 5 years ago. I ran it for a year just to find out how to do networking the right way. And believe me, I found out a lot of wrong ways to do it too. You've probably met people who are doing it the wrong way out there.
Well, absolutely, and I love, I know there's a reason that I liked you, Patrick, because I think we think a lot alike. I wasn't happy with the networking groups in this area, so just recently we started our own.
Oh,
We
good
have
for you.
we started a healthcare business alliance where we've gotten a top attorney, a top financial advisor, a top CPA, a marketing person, and then myself. All we do, all of us focus on working with doctors. So we're gonna see how we can help each other out, maybe do some events together, maybe get some sponsorship on some association websites as a group, and go
Okay,
from there.
I'm writing myself a note right now, Scott. You have got to do a webinar teaching other licensees how to do that. That's awesome. I love that idea.
Yeah, we're getting great feedback and really excitement. A lot of everybody involved. We're sitting there trying to figure out what other kind of businesses can we bring into the group. And what's great is we've talked to associations that would love us to sponsor a website so that a doctor could go with one click, go to from their association website, go to our healthcare networking alliance website and find whatever person they needed to help their business, whether that was AT&T business for your phone, your business phone, or an attorney, or you need someone to help you with your practice management. There's us, or there's a financial advisor. So I think it's going to really be something special when it gets going.
That is going to be terrific. I've just that's see it just shows me you're a genius.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, Alan says, Scott, do you have a way to show real-time billing results to doctors that put them in the loop on a day-to-day basis?
If I understand the question correctly, I think they're asking if doctors can kind of track the progress of claims or money, and the answer to that is absolutely 24/7, wherever they're at, as long as they can get a cell service or internet connection on any device, they can log into and track where their money's at, where a claim's at. They can pull up hundreds of different reports. We send them stuff occasionally as well, but for the most part, we train them to be able to learn how to quickly establish, what it is they're looking for. So, and after a while, the trust builds to where they let go a little bit and they feel comfortable that it's in good hands and that they only need to look at it maybe once or twice a month.
Yeah, and really, you can give them access to it, and they'll access it maybe once or twice, and then they go, I can trust
Exactly.
what this guy tells me because he can't lie to me. I can go and look at it anytime I
Yeah.
want to right there in the system.
Absolutely, and that's the beautiful thing is we never touch any money. We never touch the money, which is great. We've run into other billing companies where they do everything from the deposits for the office to handling cash to all sorts of things, and it's just beautiful to be able to run this business and really never have our hand in the cookie jar. So there's no temptation for weird results or to do anything fishy. It's we've actually had to let a client go because we were able to once we got everything cleaned up, we were able to identify that they were doing a little bit of extra billing that they weren't supposed to be doing, and when we called them on it, it was kind of they fired us, we fired them. But we didn't want to work with them anymore from that point on. But it's you can't hide from the system. It really is very transparent.
Yeah, and that's a good point, Scott. That there you do get to the point where you can fire a client if you don't like them. If they're not giving you the information that they need to give you for you to do your job, you just tell them it's not working out, and you just move on. You part as friends, basically. Okay, Lynn says, how many employees do you have, and approximately how many hours per week do you work?
Oh, that's a great question. Well, Lynn, I have a family of six, so yeah, I work, a lot. Um, so we have probably, 2 to 3 part-time people that help us at different times. But the beauty of this is you can probably have up to 4 or 5, full-time billing clients and have one person really take care of it, of everything. So it's not like you need one person for every business that you have. It helps you add capacity. So, one person could probably handle 5 to 6 different offices full time,
Yeah.
and right now, Mondays and Fridays we help with admin, and we kind of do calling insurance companies and doing a lot of that admin stuff. And then Tuesday, Wednesdays, Thursdays, we're out either networking or on the phones, setting appointments or going out to appointments. So Tuesday through Thursday we're building the business, and Monday and Friday we're managing the business.
Yeah, and the great thing, you can do that really, literally, some of your business at 3 in the morning if you want to. I mean, it's a 24-hour business. The internet's open 24 hours, 24/7. Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely, and you can process your claims from anywhere. I mean, we took a trip to a water park, and had the kids in the pool, and I was sitting in a chair, processing claims. So, it just
Isn't
it's
that
mobile.
great? Yeah, I've had people take trips to Hawaii and they just sit there on the shore with their laptop doing the work. Kim says, Scott, do you sign a contract with the doctors? And if so, how long do you sign for?
We do. We have a contract that we actually through ABS through the class. They actually have someone that can help you do that, or if you have an attorney on your own. I absolutely recommend having one. However you go do it, but make sure you do have one. It's very good contract, but we have a 1 year and it's a year by year renewable by both parties with kind of an out clause by either party within 30 days if they want to. So they have to give us 30 days notice if they do want out of it. The 1 year contract really just protects pricing for them, which is kind of it's in their best interest. so that we promise we won't raise prices on you at least for a year. So because what you do that first year is you're going to create a lot of value, and you have everything in your power to go back. You have all the numbers to say, look, I took your practice from 17,000 a month to 45. I think that's kind of a bargain with what you're getting. We want to raise your prices. If he didn't have that 1 year contract in place, I could go back within about 5 months and say, hey, you don't want to go get another billing client, but I'm going to raise your prices anyways and hold you over a barrel. So it's really about protecting them. This is for your benefit. But if you wanted to get out, you just need to give us 30-day notice.
Yeah, I tell people, look, if you're doing a good job for a doctor, they're going to keep you on. If you're doing a bad job, why would you want to stay with them? Cut them loose.
Yeah, you don't want to drag it out. But I do recommend a year. It does take a good 3 to 6 months to really get a good feel for how the relationship's working and get the billing, cycling through a couple times, work out some of the bugs, and make sure everybody is on board in the office. So, it's not something that's done, with the flip of the switch. It is a relationship building experiment, and it does take some time to kind of get everything working the right way.
Yeah. Now, Scott, you're in Seattle, so give people a feel for how you charge up there in that area of the country. Laura says, how do you charge for each of your clients? What percentage do you charge?
We base it a little bit on the volume of work we're going to be doing. So uh, claim volume is very important. So if you have a high volume business like a chiropractor, our chiropractor is doing 280 claims a week. So there's a little bit of work there, and not only that is he does a lot of what you call auto injury work or L&I work, where we do have to mail out some stuff that we can't do electronically. So there's a little bit extra work involved. So we charge him 8.5%. It's very reasonable. I think he's getting a bargain at that. But generally, for most providers, if they're over 20,000 to about 75,000, we're right around 6.5 to 7%. On the collected amount. So not what they process in billing, but actually what we collect. So we want to make sure we're collecting between 20 to 75,000. We're going to be in that 6.5 to 7% range. And then we dangle a carrot. We're like, look, if you want to bring on another provider, you want to add another exam room, if you can get this up to 100,000, we'll drop you 5.75 or to 6%. So we always dangle some carrots that hey, if you can get to this level, we'll drop you down 1/4% or 0.5%.
That's a good idea. Yeah, I hadn't thought about that. All right, so we're wrapping up here pretty quick, Scott. I want to get in just a couple more questions, and then we're going to cut off the questions. Folks, if we didn't get to your questions, we will forward those on to the ABS rep that you're dealing with and that you got the email from, and they'll try to get you the answers. But let's see. Here's one that is good from Lynn. Says, since your startup, what is your return on investment, first year, second year, so forth? Can you give us a feel for that, Scott?
Yeah, I think it's going to be different for everybody, obviously, whether you're full-time or part-time or what have you. And I look at it from the day we got our first client. So, our year-over-year projection, we went, we probably increased, our first 3 months, our first quarter that we were in business to that same quarter a year later, we were up probably about 280% in business, which doesn't sound, like a lot, but it is a good indicator for us. For the most part, we've had a mindset that the business needed to pay itself, first to be able to run it. So we've invested a lot of what's come in back into the business. Haven't taken a lot out of the business yet, but it's just really hard to put on a number of whether it's a return on my investment. I don't look, being a financial advisor, I don't look at too many things in the short term. I look at a much longer time horizon. So that's probably a question I can answer better in another 5 to 10 years.
Yeah, exactly. All right. Well, Scott, hey, thank you so much for taking the time out from your obviously very busy business to answer these questions from folks like this. If
Yeah.
some of these folks wanted to talk with you, is it okay if we let them go through our reps and somehow make connection with you?
Absolutely. I love talking to people getting in this business. every ABS licensee that out there is good for us. It just, gives us, bigger shoulders and, more leverage when we're working with doctors and vendors. And so, I just love that ABS is growing and that there's more, good quality, independent, business owners out there. So I'm all about talking to anybody that wants to talk some more.
Well, thank you, Scott. Once again, appreciate your time.